Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing okay, especially in the midst of these especially challenging times. A lot of people are struggling right now with the drastic changes that have taken place, seemingly overnight, which is very reminiscent of the climate that occurred post 9/11, that just seemed to come out of nowhere, and we knew instinctively that the world would never be the same. And with this COVID-19 situation, it very much has that same air about it, and that's what this video is going to be about. And before I go further, I'd like to dedicate this video to the late Patricia Farrington. I was very deeply saddened to hear about her loss, and my deepest condolences to all her loved ones. And Patricia didn't know this, but she was actually responsible for inspiring one of my tattoo designs when she posted an image up on Facebook several years ago. So Patricia, thank you for that, and there is always going to be a memory attached to me through that of you. So thank you for all your service to the truth community, and I extend that to all others as well who are doing their bit in the interests of truth. So yeah, I hope everyone's managing okay during this stressful period. I hope people are bringing in a routine still into their lives where they can, trying to find and maintain a healthy balance, whether it's through their diet, whether it's through exercise, their sleeping patterns. It's very important that we're mindful to keep a healthy routine, as tricky as that can be once we're thrust into these unknown, unexpected situations. It's good to be mindful of our circadian rhythms. Best times to eat lunch between 12:30, dinner 6 to 6:30, and probably good to be in bed by about 11 o'clock to be in a more optimal position. And they say that movement is the enemy of depression, so it's important to keep moving, guys, for your mental health, and also be sure to have a good support base, people that you can talk to if you're experiencing any heightened stress as a result of what's happening. So yes, this video is going to be about the link between COVID-19 and the September 11 ritual. I've examined these events and been investigating. As you know, I decode. That's what I do. I've made some mistakes, but overall, I like to feel that I have not led anyone astray or off the path regarding what is going to transpire, and how all the events we are experiencing now, all these ritualistic events and all the social engineering that is going on, how it all has to do with the convergence of the event horizon, which is the celestial alignments that occur prior to the birthing of the new sun. And what we're going to do today, I'm going to take you through some numerology, and I'm also going to discuss the roles of Enki and Enlil, the twin brothers, and how they are most certainly relevant in regards to the birthing of the new sun via their convergence. I've discussed parts of that prior, and I'm just going to cover some of that material again and elaborate, and of course supply the evidence, because that's what our channel aims to do. Is because it's one thing speaking truth, and it's another thing being able to actually guide people with evidence to support statements. And given how serious these events are and how dramatic they are, we owe that. And so yeah, I'm going to take you through now to the Chaldean numerology calculator. Now, based on my existing decodes, I found that this that the Chaldean is what the black magicians, or the elite sorcerers, however you want to term it, that they do use that, because I found a lot of the decodes do align with the Chaldean. So that is the one I'm working with. So let's firstly have a look at the numerology of Saturn, and this equates to the number 21. And that number is going to be very, very important in terms of exposing the evidence, because the elite do go by the numbers within this holographic simulation. So keep that in mind. Saturn is 21. Now, in discussing 21, the September 11 events of 2001 that involved planes, jets, literally colliding and impacting the Twin Towers, that was a fire ritual. And as we know, Saturn, or Satan, the adversary, is connected to fire. And what that ritual was all about was symbolizing the pending collision between Jupiter and Saturn. And that is also coded, as we've exposed, in existing movies such as West Side Story, where the sharks are the Saturn bodies that collide and have conflict with the jet bodies, which are the bodies of Jupiter. Now, when we look at the Twin Towers, they look like an 11, and the 11 represents the duality model, and the jets, Jupiter, impacting the Twin Towers and collapsing them, is symbolic of Jupiter not only being the new king and toppling Saturn, as we've already shown in the film Teen Wolf and evidence that. So the Twin Towers falling, it's all about the end of duality. That is the point where the stars ignite, and apparently, according to Velikovsky's work from the 70s, which I was not aware of when we uncovered the evidence of the stellar ignitions, we were not aware of that work, which basically mirrors the evidence that we've presented. That is quite amazing all in itself, but basically it just goes to support everything that we've been showing, that this event has happened before and apparently resulted in a nova, but this time it is going to happen again, because we're talking about repeating cycles. So let's look at the brothers Enki and Enlil. Now, looking here, it states here that Enlil is a Mesopotamian god of the atmosphere and a member of the triad of gods completed by Anu and Ea, which is Enki. So when we look at the word Enki, it takes me to this logo. Nike is an anagram of Enki, and this is Saturn's ring. So this reveals that Enki is Saturn. So knowing all about his twin brother in what we've decoded prior, by the power of deduction, we know the twin brother Enlil is Jupiter. Enlil, Jupiter, is also Horus. Now, looking at the word Ea, when I read that, well, for starters, it made me think of the game manufacturer, EA Sports. And given that this is Saturn's duality game, where Saturn is often coded as being combined with the cube and the black and white duality chessboard system, the duality of good and evil, that we are within this world platform. So EA Sports is attributed to Enki Saturn. And what's interesting about the word sport is that in Taxi Driver, the main archetype of that film is Travis Bickle, who is playing the taxi driver Jupiter. And he at the conclusion of that film, actually kills the character, the pimp of the house, named Sport. So that's the correlation of that code. And to me, it lines up pretty perfectly. So yeah, just to show you the logo there. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to decode this song by Linkin Park called What I've Done. And if you look at the words and the language of Linkin Park, you will actually see that it's a wordplay on Enki and Enlil's Park. And this song is actually about our passage towards the end of the age and how these brothers, Enki, Saturn, and Enlil, Jupiter, will be main instruments of change as we head towards the end of the age. So let's just run this. So this is indicating that as the convergence happens, there's going to be climate shifts, life is going to become more barren, more difficult, the conditions are going to be more harsh and volatile and anti-life. And I will illustrate that more so as we go along. So there you have here, this is the symbol, the scorpion. Now the scorpion is representative of Cain, of the brothers Cain and Abel, because Cain is also an archetype for Saturn, the tiller of the ground. And scorpions do till the ground and burrow into the soil. The next scene here is they're displaying a chopper. And the reason they're doing that is because Jupiter and Saturn represent the harvesting agents. As we head towards the end of the age, they are the reapers. And we have shown those codes previously in relation to those two. Now they show clockwork, and that is the evidence that they come around cyclically, like clockwork. Now Horus is known as being symbolized by a falcon, but you can include an eagle in that, and where Enlil's symbol is also an eagle. And if you do your research, you will find that Jupiter's symbol is an eagle, and we've shown that before in previous videos. So this is the depiction of Enki and Enlil and how they are converging, and their convergence draws, as their convergence draws closer and closer, we are going to have more extreme weather events. Now there's going to be some lyrics here, and it states, "Let mercy come and wash away all that I've become." Now the bear is also a symbol for Jupiter, and they show the bear underwater because Enlil was the Lord who did flood the earth previously, and he is going to cause floods again, though this time there is going to be fire element also, and where the book of Revelation states that the earth will be purified by fire, and that will be Satan, the dragon's fire, as well as other celestial bodies that are going to be converging at this time. It is going to be a mass convergence. It is not just these bodies that are going to be converging and going nova. There's going to be more than that. So moving on. I've covered this before. This music video is the same theme. It is about the convergence of Jupiter and Saturn, and Post Malone in the white is portraying the Lamb of God, which is known as Jesus Christ, the chess jurist, the judge, or I should say one of the judges of this duality model that we are existing within. So he is the Lamb, and he is battling Saturn. And they have the artist 21 Savage there to represent and show the code there that it is Saturn and Jupiter that are involved in the war in heavens. And you will see there the tree of life behind Jupiter, because he is guarding the tree of life, just as Michael does, because Jupiter and Michael are the same being, and Michael defeating the dragon is Michael defeating Saturn. There's also a code in the name post-Malone, because that's post MAL-1, and MAL is a code name for Saturn, where the character Mal in Scarface, playing the corrupt cop, was playing Saturn. And what this name is suggesting is, at the convergence, it's post Saturn, post Mal, and going to the one, the singularity. Just like we have the one world tower standing up there now. Bringing up the Twin Towers, it is vital to say that the elites are playing this as a mirror inversion. So this symbolic ritual event, which is symbolic of our liberation, which is the end of the duality model, how they're applying it is that while they're showing us that symbol for our freedom, they're actually applying in the mirror inversion more restrictions and controls over our lives, and which oppose liberation. So they're applying the mirror there in their actions. And it is the same scenario now with COVID-19. So COVID-19 is phase 2 of where the Twin Tower attack ritual was phase 1. And this is why now we have more graduated exercises and restrictions over our lives. This is the level up on that. So they will attempt to enforce more restrictions than they did in 2001. And that will lead up to a 3rd phase, and that will be the final phase. But I will evidence this where I can, and I'll do that now. So let's just go back to the Chaldean numerology. Let's type in COVID. So there you have it. COVID is also coded as 21, because this is an agenda of Satan. Just as you have agenda 21 representing the same. And when you have COVID-19, if you add 21 to 19, you get the number 40. You cancel out the 0, you have 4. And here we are now in the year 2020. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So all that numerology aligns, and that is my evidence. And you can make of that all what you will. And I'm just a decoder, and I do not want anyone to blindly take any word that we are saying here as Sovereign Key, bringing forward the information that has come to us. That is all relative to the convergence of the event horizon and the rituals and the social engineering that is taking place in conjunction with these events, because the elites know that these events are coming, and they know, I feel they have a very good grasp on when, because they are cyclical and come like clockwork. Talking about Mal being coded to Saturn, you'll see here, yes, that Saturn is represented as the corrupt cop, just as the film Training Day shows Denzel Washington playing the corrupt cop, where he is an archetype of Saturn in that film, and where Jake is playing Jupiter. And you will see here that he gets shot in the stomach or in the rib area. And this pose that he's making is actually showing the cube. It's showing the angular cube of Saturn, the angle of the cube. This is an update on prior information, and there are a couple of videos that I took down because I did want to update some information and re-edit them. So I will be looking to bring those videos out again once that is done. And you'll see here Travis Bickle in the film Taxi Driver, where Jupiter is the electromagnetic taxi driver. He shoots Sport Saturn in the same place, because all these codes align. Now, this patch here, it's difficult to see, but it actually writes Gorilla Company, and that is because Jupiter and Saturn are both the beasts of Revelation. There's that code there. Now you have the Kiro symbol, which is a traditional symbol of Christ, which means to be anointed, the anointing. And what's interesting about that is how the anointing is with oil. And we've already shown how the films Grease, with the greases, are representing the celestial bodies as well, where the scorpions and the T-birds are the bodies of Jupiter, and the scorpions represent Saturn. And it's the same with the greases in The Outsiders film as well. And so that's the code there. Now, I've outlined already that the X is a symbol for Saturn. The P is a symbol for phosphorus, and where Horus is included within that word. So it's Jupiter and Saturn converging, and that is the Christ anointing event, the birthing of the Son, or in this case, sons. Now, where there are three bodies of the crucifixion. Now, this is another film, Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter is born on January 20, 1933. And January being the first month, plus 20, you get 21. And they always seem to go with the numerology, because this is all coded. You can look at this as puzzle pieces that they've allowed to be distributed, and it is for those with the eyes to see and for seekers to gather them and actually make sense of it. So I hope this is making sense. And what that also tells us is that if Hannibal Lecter is Saturn, well then Buffalo Bill is Jupiter. And BB, Buffalo Bill, that's 2 and 2. And that tells us we are in the 2 and 2 now in the year 2020. And it looks like that what has been initiated now is the wraths of the Lamb and the unleashments of the seals of Jupiter. Benny and the Jets. Just to go back, an alternative name for Enlil Jupiter is Bel. And what that tells me is that Big Ben, BB, is Bel Jupiter. It is a representative of Jupiter. And it's the BL, the B Lord. And that is because Jupiter is the beta atom, where Saturn is the alpha atom. The first atom, Jupiter is the second atom. So here's the BL and the Bell. That is how they do the wordplay. So now that we know that Ben is attributed to Jupiter, we can now look at Benny and the Jets. Hey kids, shake it loose together. The spotlight's hitting something that's been known to change the weather. We'll kill the fatted calf tonight. And now the fatted calf, that's a very interesting term, because Jupiter and Saturn are coded as the two Red Bulls. And we have shown that the Red Bull symbol, with them coming together with the sun behind them, if there is a calf, that's the baby of the bull. Well, given that Saturn and Jupiter are actually the foundations for this world, as I've shown already in the Book of the Law, where they are both twin penile symbols for the foundations of the world, to kill the fatted calf as the harvesters, to me that tells me that they're killing Earth. And the reason why they call it fatted is because there is a lot of population on the Earth towards the end of the age. There is the most amount of people on the Earth. It has been fattened. And it's probably pretty tough to argue that there has not been more population on the Earth than there is now. Now, and it is an electric universe as well, and they are electromagnetic bodies and beings with their own consciousness. And oh, Benny, she's really keen. There is a female element here, and that is Alcyone. And we have shown that already. She's got electric boots. And she is the third body of the Trinity, also coded as Mother Mary, giving birth to the Son in these events. Maybe they're blinded, but Benny makes them ageless. We shall survive. Let us take ourselves along, where we fight our parents in the street to find who's right and who's wrong, and that is because they are the celestial judges, Saturn and Jupiter. The film Devil's Advocate, and that is another coded film where it is an interplay here of dialogue between Saturn, John Milton, and his son playing the archetype of Jupiter. And the reason that Saturn can be both Adam and Cain is because Saturn, Adam, was a larger body. And when there were collisions, Saturn split off from itself and also gave birth, so to speak, to Jupiter. So technically it is a parentage in being a once larger body. But there were celestial collisions which did split them off. Saturn being Satan, the adversary, and there you go. He's thrown up the image there of the twin towers. And he says, "It's my time, Kevin. I'm peaking now." And that is because towards the end of the age is when a lot of persecution occurs at the hands of Saturn. Here you have a cube depiction, interestingly, connected to Horus, phosphorus, which is a chemical element in the earth and within us as part of their foundational pillars of creation. And it's connected to the number 15. Now 5 plus 1 is 6, and I've already outlined how the number 6 and the number 9 is connected to the number codes of Jupiter in the building blocks of creation. And you have a band called Ben folds 5. And what's interesting about that, now that we know Ben folds 5 is Jupiter folds 5, and if you see here in the cube, it's 1-fold, 2-fold, 3-fold, 4-fold, 5-fold, the cube from across. So this is all coded. And interestingly, the resulting diagram is called a net for the cube. Now, wasn't Jesus Christ calling for his disciples to be fishers of men to cast the net? So I'm just providing that as supplementary evidence that there is deeper esoteric mystery knowledge to all of this. And it has everything to do with astronomical events. Though the man that people know as Jesus Christ did live, and we do not back away from that. And he was the man of good spirit and love, an expression of love and loving consciousness that we all are called to aspire to follow in order to evolve and ascend beyond this underworld. Because make no mistake, we are within a fallen underworld. And there is a way out, but it's not complicated. It is all up to us being positive as possible and harboring as much love within us and genuine love and not just loving those that love us, but loving and praying for our enemies also, and those that may seek to harm us. And that is true Christ consciousness. And there is much power and grace delivered in that. So sometimes we have a way of overcomplicating teachings, and if you are connected to your conscience, then inherently we know what is right and wrong, and it's just a matter of following that and repenting and trying to make amends where we can, where we have made mistakes and gone wrong, which we all go wrong and we all stumble, and that's why there is that saying, those who are without sin, may they cast the first stone, because we are all guilty here. Where we actually do harbour the two wolves within us, the higher mind and the lower mind. So which one are we going to give energy to, and which one are we going to feed? Because we are, in a sense, open to impurity and corruption just by being within a duality platform. So it is virtually impossible to not be exposed to corruptive elements just by our makeup within duality and being within the flesh. So now looking again at the phosphorus cube, interestingly enough, this aligns with the letter P, which I stated is one of the letter codes for Jupiter. And the thing about the letter P, it's actually depicted and shaped like a penis, and that's why penis does start with the letter P all in itself, is because Jupiter is coded as being a penis and penetrative, and its influence is going to penetrate like the spear within this dimension, but I will go into that a little bit further in this presentation. So let's look at some Bible scripture now. John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So do you see what's happening here? It's like there's two elements here, the Word and the Word that was with God, but yet they are both part of the one, because Jupiter has split off once part of Saturn, and then they collided with one another. So we are going back thousands and thousands of years through celestial, cyclical, cosmic conflicts and wars and collisions, leading to novas, supernovas, and the like, through how long this has all been going on. So, and this also ties in with the Word, because the word is sound. And this ties in with the code of video killed the radio star. And that is Cain, the video, killing Abel, Jupiter, the Word. And it says here, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. And it's talking about the beginning of the earth and its formation. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And we're talking about on this level, and where the Earth is coded as being Jupiter's satellite within the film Falling Down, where he literally states, the character Defense, playing an archetype of Jupiter, literally saying, I'm coming home. And he is. And he is going to fall into our density. And that is when some real dramatic changes are going to occur upon the Earth. Though he's not alone, he's going to be doing that with Saturn. And that is coded in the film Donnie Darko as well, where the jet engine collides with Donnie, playing an archetype of Saturn. And it is done through portals. This is very advanced, higher knowledge, and this kind of knowledge goes over people's heads, but it is coded within the film and in other films. And phosphorus and phosphate is within our blood. And they say that the soul is within the blood. Soul meaning the sun, and the light is within our blood. And that is our connection to the Lords on this platform. And the body needs phosphorus to help build and repair bones and teeth. So it is essential to life. And the building blocks not only of our bodies, but of worlds on the macro level. So going back now to Benny and the Jets. Now that we know that Ben is associated with Jupiter, we know now that Benny and the Jets is Jupiter's extraterrestrials, which are its accompanying satellites. Jupiter's ETs, Jets. Quite clever, aren't they? And you'll see here that the Terminator series of movies shows through archetypes that is the celestial bodies of both Jupiter and Saturn that do come in to our density, skyfall, because that's what that they do come in via teleportation. And take a look at this lightning. And in both Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 films, you will notice them both teleporting next to trucks. Now, do you remember me doing the decode of the Transformers, where I said that Optimus Prime represents Jupiter, and that obviously means that the Decepticon, the liar, is an archetype of Saturn, Satan. So they both teleport, and they're both showing the trucks there because both Saturn and Jupiter are transformers, literally. So that is that decoded as well. And the movie Skyfall, when we look at the term Skyfall, and Lauder and I had a discussion about this, and yeah, she helped with the decode, that the sky falling is all about the celestial bodies of the solar system, which are literally going to be portaled closer to our density, which means that their effect is going to be more stronger upon the Earth at a particular point in time. And it's going to reap some very, very dramatic events on Earth. And this is where the scriptures point to these bodies coming in like a thief in the night, and no one knows the hour of the day of these Lords' return upon the Earth. And that is because they are going to come in very suddenly via portals. They are going to cross densities from theirs in the sky, falling to our density on Earth. And something tells me that the developments of CERN have something to do with this, that there is going to be something done that is synonymous with these events, and that is why CERN was constructed. I don't have all the answers, but this is just an intuitive feeling. And you'll see the similar lightning there interacting with Alcyone, acting as a literal spark plug upon the other celestial bodies. And that term, she's a real spark plug, is mentioned in the coded film. There's something about Mary, where Mary is playing the archetype of Alcyone. Healy is Saturn, and Ben Stiller's character, Ted, is playing an archetype of Jupiter, and she's referred to as a spark plug. And that is because in an electric universe, that's exactly the function that Alcyone is going to have in conjunction with the lightning, the plasma lightning effects of Jupiter and Saturn. And what's interesting also is that Ted Levine was the actor that played Buffalo Bill. So they always seem to insert the codes somewhere along the line which parallel one another, just to affirm them. And basically that's what I'm doing. I'm putting puzzle pieces together. So I'm hoping this does make sense to most of you, and that you do follow up on these research leads where I've cross-referenced thousands of pieces of data to come to these determinations with data. So I just want to conclude this presentation now by discussing the ritual events again and just adding a bit more information. So I mentioned that there's going to be 3 phases of timeline rituals where the elites are going to be instigating further control measures. And the first one was on 9/11/2001. Now 2001 is the 21, which adds up to the 3. We're now in 2020, where the 2 + 2 = 4. And I've just done some basic math, and the final phase of control, of increasing controls and restrictions prior to the convergence of the event horizon, that has to be 2030, where 2 + 3 = 5, because it seems to be going in a numerical sequence. So, but again, don't hold me to that. I'm just trying to crack the code here, and to me it makes sense where they do things by the numbers. So that might be an indicator that there is more time than what we might think, where I don't want to play a prediction game in regards to when the convergence of the event horizon will occur, but I feel the elites have a very, very good idea on when they are, and when other cosmic events such as meteors and whatnot are going to be impacting. And everything that is happening now, as I stated, has to do with this pending major convergence event that signals the end of the age and the birthing of the new sun. And that's why when Christ was born, when the sun was born, the calendar was set to 0, is because it was the new age. So, but again, I don't want to take away from the God-man, you know, that did live and walk in good spirit and is everything that we should be aspiring to ideally, though we're all going to fall short. But in order to graduate out of here and to be given an inner peace in amongst the storms that are going to be increasing, that can only be given via good spirit. When this whole COVID-19 scenario, when it first started bringing its effects into our environment, I could feel the panic and the tension of everyone around in the supermarkets and whatnot, and I was so relieved that even though as an empath, you know, I can kind of sponge a lot of that, and I could feel the panic, I could feel the fear, I could feel the tension, but yet I was walking quite calmly, and I was so happy for that, because that's exactly where I want to be, where we know that things are going to become more destabilized, on every level, socially, economically, geopolitically, all in that arena, as these convergences on the macro influence everything below. So there is going to be more conflict and turmoil and control measures that are going to be attempted to be instituted by the elites. I don't understand why they can't just allow the harvest to do its thing on its own, because as I see it, we don't need the elites to be a catalyst for people to do negative deeds, because I feel that humans and human nature does that all on its own. We don't need any help to be negative. I see that in many ways we wrestle with our lower nature, all on its own. But there are going to be increased stresses, as I see it. So we're just going to have to do the best that we can via good spirit to hold firm through that and build a spiritual fortitude, as I've spoken about before, because really I feel that is your best protection, and where we should be looking more to not necessarily become obsessed about preserving the flesh, but enduring in spirit and looking beyond this temporal life in the flesh, and aspire to, if we have the will to do that. And at the end of the day, the ride is going to get rougher, and just on climate shifts alone, let alone any elites' plans. Closer we get to a form of liberation beyond this captivity system of duality, that they are going to be instituting events that do seek to restrict our liberties via the mirror function. So yeah, I hope this has given some clarity. And like I said, let's just aim to be the calm in the storm and the peace in the storm, and to be good to our neighbor, and to be in a spirit of thanksgiving every day and gracious for what we have, because things, as we know, can change very, very quickly. And it looks like that we have reached one of the pivotal marker points of change. And just as we knew that things were never going to be the same after 9/11, that's exactly how I feel with this event right now. So I am concerned that what is happening now is basically a test run as well for compliance, and to test their social engineering practices and policies, and to test resistance and herd mentality. As I see it, this COVID-19 situation has been predominantly about introducing the vaccines and using that as a catalyst for introducing and implementing the control measures that they want. And I don't feel that the vaccines that they're going to introduce, as I see it, are going to be mandatory per se. However, what I see is that they're going to do what they usually do, and that's to put people between a rock and a hard place. Is that where you do have a choice, but yet if you refuse it, then you're going to be more restricted in what you can do. For example, whether it's getting a job, or whether it's traveling and so forth, accessing welfare. So these are very real concerns, and I really hope it doesn't come to that. I don't want it to come to that, and because I don't see any of that as necessary as we proceed towards this cyclical harvest period. But there are nefarious agendas and control agendas in place. I'm just looking as to what's within my control and within my will. We can't always control the actions of the masses, and where many will adhere and actually support a lot of these nefarious agendas. So yeah, I hope this has been somewhat enlightening, and look forward to doing some discussions with Lauda as well. It feels like it's been a long time between that. And yeah, this was another serious one. So yeah, I couldn't kind of babble like a toddler like in the last one. I do want to bring a lighter spirit, because at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to make the best of difficult situations and just proceed with a lightness in heart and in spirit. But let's not hold too much to the material and to the flesh, because in any case, even without disasters and wars and whatever conflicts the world can bring, life is short regardless. Let's just be as positive as we can be. Thank you for watching, guys.